Hi, this is Tisch Aitken, and it is Tuesday, October 11th, 2022. If you could please subscribe to my channel, I would really appreciate it. The energy is extremely intense right now, and I'm having a little bit of anxiety as I do this video, but I'm sure a lot of you are experiencing this right now in some way or another, so I feel it's important to do this video. So we've had a lot happen, and this month is extremely intense. Just to go back to what we've started with, because it's now the 11th, Mercury stationed direct on October 2nd at 24 degrees of the mutable Earth sign of Virgo. And it did so with an opposition to Neptune. And Mercury had opposed Neptune earlier in August initially, and it retrograded on September 9th at 8 degrees of Libra, and it actually will clear its shadow on October 17th when it gets to 8 degrees again, and it will remain in Virgo through October 29th. But it entered Libra on October 10th, and that brought a shift in energy. And so when Mercury retrograded, we had it initially in the sign of partnerships, reassessing our relationships, how we partner with the world, how we partner with ourselves, and perhaps old relationships could resurface, or recommitting to relationships, a lot of focus on partnerships. And then Pluto, which is the planet of drama and power and death and transformation, stationed direct on October 8th at 26 degrees and 6 minutes of the Cardinal Earth sign of Capricorn. When an outer planet stations, we feel it 5 days before and 5 days after. Pluto is extremely intense. It may be the dwarf planet, but it packs a punch. And this can bring major departures, major endings. Things could get revealed and brought to light, and it could bring escalation in aggression and power struggles, and we're seeing that on the world stage. Last week, North Korea fired missiles at Japan. It's escalating in the Ukraine, unfortunately, and it's a very combustible energy. And in our own lives, there could be major shifts going on, or endings, or just feeling a sense of not doom or dread, but just a lot of intensity, maybe some fear. And this is a time of a lot of transformation and a lot of change, where Mercury stationed direct, Pluto also stationed direct, but Mars is about to retrograde at the end of the month on October 30th. We've got a lot happening this month because Mars retrogrades, and we've been feeling that already. It entered its shadow on September 3rd when it got to 8 degrees of Gemini, which is the degree it stations direct on January 12th. But with all of that said, we had, Mars is squaring Neptune right now, so my mind is going in many different directions. So it entered its shadow. It actually entered the sign of Gemini on August 21st, which is when Mercury entered its shadow and got to 24 degrees of Virgo, where it just stationed direct. Now, Mars is in Gemini a long time. That brings a lot of options and choices, but I'm finding it very difficult to focus, because you will come up with a lot of ideas with Mars and Gemini, and it's a great time to learn. It really, gets your mind going, and you can come up with a lot of ideas, but focusing can be difficult, and your mind can meander in many different directions, and that's not so great when you really want to focus. And right now, having it square Neptune as it slows down is difficult. There was a full moon over the weekend on October 9th, the day after the Pluto station, and again, we're definitely still reeling from the Pluto station. We feel it 5 days before and 5 days after, so it's still potent until the 13th. It actually intensifies the energy of the planet when it stations direct, and that is the planet of power. And so you've got Mars about to square Neptune later tonight at 10:46 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, and October 12th at 1:46 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And then Mars will retrograde on the 30th at 25 degrees and 37 minutes of the mutable air sign of Gemini. And it stations direct on January 12th at 8 degrees of Gemini. And it will remain in the sign of Gemini through March 26th. That's a very long time, given that it entered Gemini on August 21st. So many months of dealing with Mars in Gemini. And so far, I have found it difficult to focus. I am curious about a lot of subjects, but my follow-through has not been as strong as I would like it to be. And that is something I'm trying to examine with Mars retrograding in the sign of learning and studying and communication. This is actually a cosmic opportunity to hone your skills to study. Maybe it's listening more in your communication skills. I certainly know I could benefit from that. Maybe it's returning to things you need to brush up on, or learning new things to evolve your skills in your trade. Whatever it is, it's focusing on learning and communication, but also being mindful of your words. Mercury is now direct. It actually entered the cardinal air sign of Libra on October 10th, and it will remain in Libra through October 29th, but it does not clear its shadow until the 17th. So some things you've been dealing with since the retrograde on September 9th, when it retrograded at 8 degrees of Libra, or even going back as far as August 21st, when Mercury entered its shadow and got to 24 degrees of Virgo. So, reassessing what you've been dealing with since the end of August and since the retrograde began. And September had 6 planets retrograde, so a lot of reflection, a lot of slowing down. To me, this even feels more of it feels like we're taking another level in the reassessment, in re-examining as we approach major change, because Mars only retrogrades once every 2 years. Yes, Pluto is now direct, but that's an outer planet. Yes, Mercury is direct, but it retrogrades 4 times a year. Mars is retrograding in a sign that is ruled by Mercury, and that has so many options and choices. So to me, it almost feels like it's Mercury retrograde for several months, and in more of a specific way, because it's in Gemini. And so I think it's still really important to be very careful in your choices and how you communicate. And there is, a lot happening. I keep saying that because Mars is squaring Neptune, and it's hard to, it's interesting because there is so much air in the sky right now, planets in air. We have Saturn, which will it will station on October 23rd at 18 degrees of the fixed air sign of Aquarius. And we're almost completing the new age of Aquarius, which is amazing to think about, but we are. And so right now the sun is in Libra. Venus is only a couple of degrees behind. They are forming a trine to Saturn, the planet of stability and structure. And they are also forming a trine to Mars in Gemini. And so that's at least the sun is. And so we have a grand trine in air where there are a lot of ideas and a lot of opportunity to partner. Venus is going to meet up with the sun on October 22nd. And that's going to be a day to definitely circle in your calendar. That is a beautiful superior conjunction of Venus and the sun at 29 degrees of the cardinal air sign of Libra. And it's the first time since the 1870s that this new 8-year cycle, this conjunction, this new beginning, Venusian type of new beginning, happened in Libra. So this is a lovely energy, and it is really about focusing on what you want and what you desire. I have found myself gravitating a lot to the North Node Uranus transit that we're all dealing with, because I'm trying to find beauty in what's uncomfortable, or trying to find beauty in little moments. In the sense of being uncomfortable, I mean that not necessarily having a strategic approach always, but trying to be creative in how I can be, or trying to find beauty in how I can, and just letting it kind of happen spontaneously with Uranus, or not, not being rigid. Even though Uranus rules a fixed sign, it is not rigid because it can bring instant spontaneous change. And the North Node is transiting in Taurus until July of next year. And that's about, Venus rules the sign of Taurus and it rules the sign of Libra. And that's really about growing something that you love, really going towards what you value, how you can be creative, how you can find beauty in little moments, but also in what you value, and really figuring out also new ways to earn money in this difficult economy, in this difficult time. But the North Node in Taurus wants pleasure, it wants happiness. And so trying to go towards that story. I'm excited about the Venus-Sun conjunction. I think that's really nice. But a lot, again, is happening this month. I'll just give a brief preview, and then I'll get to the rest of this week. There's not much more to say, but because we're already dealing with the intensity. So the full moon over the weekend started eclipse season officially, although I feel we already were starting to feel the approach of the eclipses. But it was a full moon in Aries on October 9th. And the next lunation we have is a partial solar eclipse on October 25th at 2 degrees of the fixed water sign of Scorpio. And that is a South Node eclipse. And there is a release in that. I will talk much more at length about the eclipses. There's so much to discuss. Mars retrograding in Gemini, the eclipses. Then after that eclipse, Jupiter, which is the grand benefic, re-enters the mutable water sign of Pisces. Now, Jupiter was in Pisces earlier this year, and then it entered Aries, the sign of Aries, on May 10th when we were last in eclipse season. So it's interesting. We had the eclipses on April 30th and May 15th, and Jupiter entered Pisces on May 10th. Now we have the eclipses on October 25th and November 8th, and Jupiter will again change signs. It will re-enter the last 2 degrees of Pisces, and it will remain in Pisces from October 28th through December 20th. Then, right by the winter solstice, it reaches the world point and initiates a new story. Aries is a sign of new beginnings, but while Jupiter is in Pisces, this is hopefully, it's going to definitely expand emotions. This is a very emotional time because Neptune, which is the modern ruler of Pisces, has been a key player in the recent months as well, because during all of this retrograde energy, we had the Sun oppose Neptune, Venus oppose Neptune, Mercury opposed Neptune in the end of August, but then when it's stationed direct, it's stationed direct with an opposition to Neptune. Neptune, when you have aspects to Neptune, it may fog our vision, but it also can bring things to light that we were being myopic about, perhaps. Maybe we were not seeing clearly. And so, and Mars squaring Neptune is a big story because that is feeling held back. It's like feeling like you're stuck in mud in a way. And yet, remember, there are a lot of choices, whether somebody can get you a Lyft or an Uber near to that mud pile, or some way get you out of there. There are options and choices. And so reminding yourself that this may be a difficult time, but there can be something that you can create with this, and that there are choices, and also about trusting your intuition. It may not always be practical choices right now, but with Neptune, the higher level of Neptune is compassion, it's imagination, and it's intuition. Listen to your intuition. And, we're going to have we're having an eclipse this month. We're having Mars retrograde on October 30th. Mars is also going to be out of bounds from October 22nd to May 4th. That means it exceeds the sun's path by declination. It's out of control, and it does not play by the rules. That really intensifies the Mars retrograde story and makes it all the more interesting, confusing, and challenging. But we all like a challenge, or so they say. I don't know if I always do, but we have a challenge, and that challenge is to remain grounded and try to find ways through your intellect. Right now, there's so much air in the sky. There's a grand trine. Use your intellect. Jupiter re-entering Pisces. Use your heart, because Pisces is ruled by Neptune, which is a higher octave of Venus. And to me, that's selfless love. I know Leo is associated with the heart, but I think of Neptune also as just like this big, I don't know, amorphous heart that we all are part of. And when we're really connected and tapped in, that's where we are. So I think it's just important to know things are confusing. This video encapsulates that energy well, I think, because I've gone in many different directions. Know that on Friday, Venus will form a positive trine to Saturn at 2:01 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and that's bringing structure to what you value. The Sun does form a trine to Saturn today at 9:07 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, but I have to admit, I cannot see that because all I feel and see is Mars squaring Neptune, Mars slowing down, and so and approaching the eclipses. So it is hectic, confusing energy, but it can be incredibly creative and illuminating. Eclipses bring major life events. They bring major departures, major beginnings. They can eclipse people in and out of our lives. They can bring major events that change your life forever. And they certainly will be big on the world stage and in your friends' lives, your coworkers' lives, your clients' lives, and in your life. So a lot happening. Good luck. Mercury clears its shadow on the 17th. It's now in Libra. We've got 3 planets transiting in Libra right now. A lot of focus on Venusian pursuits as we approach the Venus-Sun conjunction. Keep that as a guide. Take care.